Indian elections have seen many issues: inflation, jobs, reforms, wars. We've seen it all. But this time there's a new one. The issue of foreign interference. Could foreign agents or powers be meddling in India's election? A lot of people think so, and that includes the Prime Minister of India, but we'll get to that later. First, let's look at a key Indian partner, Russia. Their spokesperson was asked about the Khalistan plot, about American claims that Indian officials tried to kill a Khalistani separatist. Listen to the response.
According to our information, so far Washington has not given so far any credible information or evidence that Indian citizens are involved in the preparation of killing of some Panoon. The reason is that they try to unbalance the domestic political situation in India in order to make it harder to have the general parliamentary election, and that is part of the meddling into India's domestic affairs.
Russia says, where is the evidence? They also think the US is trying to meddle in India's elections. Now, just to be clear, Russia has its own agenda here to drive a wedge between India and the US. Plus, we are talking about Russia, a country that has a history of foreign meddling. So the source is a bit shady, but the allegation may be worth looking at. Recently, top Indian officials have hinted at the same. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi talked about it. Let me quote from what he said. And this is the Indian Prime Minister. I can see there is an attempt by some in the world to influence our elections. They are not just giving their opinions, but are trying to influence our polls, but they will not be successful. Now, that is pretty direct. The Indian Prime Minister says there is an attempt to meddle. He may not have taken names, but his foreign minister did. That's Dr. S. Jaishankar. He put the blame on Western media.
Yes, I get a lot of these noises from the Western press. And if they criticize our democracy, it's not because they lack information. It is because they think they're also political players in our election. That is the reason.
These are unprecedented allegations. But where are they coming from? Is there any evidence of this meddling? Officially, no. We've only seen statements from the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, but we can guess what they're talking about. First is the Western news coverage. It's mostly critical of Prime Minister Modi. Look at this article in the New York Times. It accuses him of vilifying India's Muslims. Or look at this Bloomberg report. It says there is speculation that the BJP may win fewer seats than expected. Apparently, that's why markets are volatile. Reuters said something similar, that low voter turnout and apathy are worries for Modi. Clearly, the government has seen all of this and they do not like it. Secondly, we have seen official Western statements and reports. Think back to when Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal was arrested. The US released a statement. So did the German Foreign Ministry. Again, this was a key election issue. Kejriwal is a major opposition leader in India. His party is in power in 2 states. He has access to Indian courts and top lawyers. So why did Western nations comment? It was totally unwarranted. Another example is Canada. They accused India of killing a Khalistani separatist. The claim was made back in September last year, but the arrests came last week, right in the middle of India's elections. New Delhi has rejected these charges. It says no evidence has been shared yet.
Shared with us. So let me first make it clear that no specific or relevant evidence or information has been shared by the Canadian authorities in regard to this particular matter till date with us. You will therefore understand our view that the matter is being prejudged when people say X or Y. Obviously, there are political interests at work.
Is this what Indian officials are talking about? The negative press and statements? I'm afraid we can't be sure. Having said that, there are 2 factors to note here. One, Western media doubting Indian democracy is not new. It's as old as India's democracy. This is what the Washington Post wrote way back in 1952. Let me quote. Harried officials trying to put 170 million voters through the pages of democracy find that self-government takes a lot of teaching in this land of high illiteracy and low diet. The New York Times also covered this. They talked about problems with an illiterate population. And this was not surprising. Most people in the West did not expect Indian democracy to succeed. They underestimated the Indian voter, and 7 decades later, they still do. Look at this article, again in the Western press. I'm quoting, "The right to vote is held as sacred, but polling also indicates that large numbers of Indians are willing to cede civil liberties to support a powerful ruler they see as getting things done." The same attitude, as if the Indian voter does not care about democracy or civil rights. So my point is quite simple. The Western press has a history of doing this, of criticizing Indian democracy. Whether it qualifies as intervention is a different question altogether, which brings us to the second factor, the global trend. Many countries have complained of foreign meddling. The US has accused Russia and China, Canada has accused India and China, and Europe accused Russia. So interference is not unimaginable. It's also not beyond the West. But that is also why clarity is important. All these countries have ordered investigations into foreign meddling. Some are still underway, others have been closed. In Canada, for example, India got a clean chit. Perhaps New Delhi should do the same. Go public with the facts and investigate them. Because these are serious allegations. If left unaddressed, they could fester.
First Post reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. South Africa goes to the polls on the 29th of May. I will track the election and bring you ground reports. Is it the end of the road for the African National Congress? And will former President Jacob Zuma stage a dramatic comeback? From elections to climate change, to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post.